Hey everyone, welcome to the Get Your Life Together Girl podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Van. As a cognitive behavioral therapist, life coach to women, and author, I've spent my life studying and learning from the stories that make us human. It's my passion and goal to help you shift your mindset and create a lifelong revolution to reach your greatest potential. One of the greatest questions each of us can ask ourselves is, how may I serve? With the unprecedented political changes in the United States after last week's Supreme Court ruling that overturned Roe v. Wade, many women find themselves questioning their options when it comes to their bodies, especially couples who struggle with the inability to get pregnant or carry a baby to term. With so much on the line, many are unsure what the future of their families truly look like. This week, I sat down with my dear friend, Kelsey Garrison, who has been on the forefront of serving a family as a surrogate. Kelsey walks us through her calling to serve, how her experience changed her, and her advice for women who really want to show up for someone that you may not have even met yet. This next hour is a beautiful conversation of faith, family, and service. That's exactly what we need more of. The Get Your Life Together Girl podcast starts right now. I am so excited to have you because, one, I am lucky enough to call you a personal friend, but I also know that you have such a gift of a story to share with us today. So just tell us who you are, and then let's talk about the gift in which you have given.
Okay, so I'm Kelsey, and I am a hairstylist here in Bend, Oregon, and I'm married to the love of my life, Grady, and then we have a beautiful daughter, Adeline, who is now 6, which is just so crazy. So I don't know where to begin other than I guess I just maybe dive into this gift now that everybody I'm sure is curious about.
Yes.
So in 2020, I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy and I was a surrogate. So basically, I think it was 2018 when I felt like this, I guess like calling or this feeling that I should really look into surrogacy. We knew that we were done having babies and I was really good at being pregnant. It's a really good skill of mine.
I love that.
Right. And I was like, I should just look into it. Like nothing felt weird. Nothing felt abnormal about it. I was like, I'm just going to look into it. I Googled a agency up in Portland. I did like a little interview. They kind of pre-screened me and then met with them, like 2 or 3 weeks later. And we just went up to Portland and they were like, all right. And these are all the next steps. If you do this, then you get to kind of go on to the next phase, and everything just so seamlessly happened. It was just like, all right, and now we do this. My husband and I, we had to do a psych evaluation, which I thought that we were going to fail. I don't know why, but it just it was so in depth. I was like, oh my gosh, are we crazy? I felt like we were crazy, even though we're not. It's just like the questions and you're just trying to answer so authentically. No, we passed with flying colors, which was amazing. And then I had to do a uterine evaluation and all was clear there. And basically it was just I started the meds and, I got everything got the oven ready for the little bun to be placed inside. And all of that went well.
Let me pause you for just a moment because I want to, before we dive even deeper into what occurred and how this all transpired, I really want to know about that calling. What was the push? What made you think this is something that I want to do not only for myself, but for someone else?
There's just so many people who can't have babies and it's so heartbreaking. I hear all the stories being behind the chair. People struggling with infertility or, they want to have a baby or all the things. And one of my clients had mentioned that she was doing it, and it like all of a sudden like triggered something in me. It was just like, it like clicked, like, you should do this. Like I hadn't thought about it. And then I kind of just sat with it, but it kept on like coming up in my head. Like, you should look into this. Like you should, like, it was just, I couldn't get it off my mind basically. And I mentioned it to Grady and he didn't think it was weird at all. He was like, yeah, you should do that. And apparently that's not the response that a lot of men give when it comes to surrogacy. So, and it was just like, yeah, like totally. That sounds great. You should. And I just really wanted to be able to give the gift of life to somebody else who had been wanting it. And I really wanted to do it for a gay couple because that hits home to me personally with my family. Not to say that any other couple wouldn't be deserving. It's just like that really like solidified for me. That was like, in a perfect world, I'd love to do it for two guys. That would be like my dream. And sure enough, I got matched with two guys in China. Which was just so wild.
Let's talk about that for just a moment, because when we're talking about gay marriage here in the United States versus what it looks like around the world, also reproductive rights and ability to, you know, either foster or even adopt, they are very different aspects.
Yes.
What did you learn along that way? And I guess too, I'm sure the people that are listening are wondering, you know, were you able to say, this is really the intent and my purpose. I would love to share this with someone who, you know, not only can't have a child, but really the odds are very much stacked against them.
Absolutely. For my knowledge, I don't want to say that this is like fact, but my knowledge for the Chinese like culture and government is that it's illegal to be married to a, you know, to be gay in China. I have been told that you can, you know, basically put blinders on the government in a way that they, you know, there's ways around it basically so that you can still be yourself and not have others in your business, in your personal life. So it's really different. And I think I didn't ever ask the dads, but I don't think that one of the families knows that the guy is gay, even though he has a baby. So it's so odd. I think that the way that they look at it is basically the guy came over to the States and had a relation with an American woman who then gave birth and gave a right.
Gotcha.
I think that is how, as to my knowledge, I didn't totally dive into it because it seems different, you know, but if that's also what you have to do in this world to have a baby and be with the love of your life, you know, I get it. So you kind of have to do what you have to do. But so I don't know all of that. I just know that being gay is not okay in China, unfortunately.
Right. Were you able to go in and say, this is really my intention?
Yes. Our first meeting was when we met with the surrogacy agency. I had basically my wish list and the perfect kind of couple. And what they do is they make a profile for me and my family. And then the couple makes a profile for them. And then the agency kind of does this matchmaking thing and kind of gives you a profile. And it's like, do you like what you see? Do you want to do a meeting with them? Do you feel connected? And basically, this was the first couple that we were matched with. It was wonderful. It happened very quickly and seems like so long ago. Which
I know.
I mean, it was, but it wasn't. There was a lot in my life that happened. And so, yeah, we had a great meeting over Zoom because they were still in China. And we just felt connected. And then basically from there, all the legal forms kind of filed. Like I said, this happened so just seamlessly. And there was no hiccup. It was just like I was meant to carry their baby.
I can't imagine how they must have felt to be matched with you, and then also how you felt being matched to them. Can you talk about, at least from your perspective, or even what they had, imparted on you?
Yeah, I know. It's like you're trusting somebody to carry your baby and you don't know them too well. It was honestly an honor to be able to carry their child, and they're so sweet. They call me the mom, which is it's so odd, but it's true because, for them, it's their two dads. So I would be the mom. It was so cool. And I feel like for them, they were so blessed to be able to have somebody be able to carry their baby. There's not a lot of surrogates that are able to make it. There's a lot of tests that we have to go through. So, when you have all these people who are interested, not a lot of them actually make it through this. So sometimes these people struggle years to try to find a perfect match. So I don't know how long they were waiting. I never asked that, actually. I should ask them that. I'm just thankful that they wanted me to carry their baby.
I want to talk about the journey. When we are pregnant, there is such a connection to this child that we're carrying. And so can you lead us through that kind of connection that was, were you able to connect in that way? And then what does this journey look like as you are going through a pregnancy that at the end, you're not going home with this beautiful child that you're carrying?
So for me, I knew that we were done having babies, and I went into this with the right mindset of this is not my baby from day one. From there, I already put that mindset on this, nope, we are not having, this is not my child. It was easy for me to, I guess, disconnect that relation that you would with your own child. So I loved him and I still love him, but I wasn't oh my gosh, this is my baby. I'm so excited. I was so excited to be able to carry their baby. This was their baby. So I really tried to share that, pictures I would be sharing to them and try to include all of that. But yeah, it's so weird. I know that so many people are like, how were you not connected to him? Like I said, I think it was honestly my mindset that this was not my baby. And I can still love him. I like to describe my love for him as you would your niece or nephew.
Right.
You love them, but they're not yours.
That makes total sense.
I love being pregnant. I love the little movements and towards the end where you see their little butt go through. I think that's just so cool. I feel like I was totally meant for this because I was able to disconnect my mind from this baby that I was growing.
A little bit of emotional safety net for yourself too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I kind of created that boundary. No, we're not getting attached. We love them.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So as you're going through all of this and you're doing the appointments, and is surrogacy different than, say, when you were carrying your beautiful Adeline?
Yes and no. Once you graduate from the fertility clinic, you go to your normal OB, and they treat you a little bit like higher risk, but really they treat you just like you would, if you have more complications, they want to see you more.
Right.
And, from there, obviously you would. But yeah, everything was actually perfect for my pregnancy. I followed the same regimen that you would. I would go in for my blood tests, my ultrasounds, all of that. And all of that was great up until 36 weeks. And which was also the start of the 2020 pandemic, life was shutting down scenario. So that was just insane.
How do we explain to the beautiful child that is already here that, yes, I am carrying a baby, but no, it's not staying?
Right? She came up to Portland when we had that meeting. We were very open and candid about surrogacy. This is not our baby. This is not, I had her sit in with my meds. She would, hold my hand when I got my shots, all of that. They have some wonderful books that we would give her. I remember one time, it was around Christmas time, she had said something about that this baby was her brother. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. No. Like, how do I like nip this? Oh, we did the elf on the shelf, and the elf brought a surrogacy book. And we were then able to like sit down and read that. And then from then on, it was totally fine. And like I said, I was just like upfront and honest that this was not our baby. And only that one time she was a little, I guess, confused. But from then on, yeah, she knew that it was for a couple in China.
Right. The world is shutting down and everything is going beautifully. And you know my personal story of delivering early. So that was one thing that you and I connected on. What happens as here we are, the world is shutting down and you begin to have very serious medical complications?
So it was so funny. It was March 17th. I had done this maternity shoot for them. And it was actually for my friend. She wanted just a model. I was like, well, I'm pregnant. You can use me. Like, so I was all glammed up. And my mother-in-law was in town. She was leaving the next day. They had just notified me that kids could not come to regular OB appointments anymore because of COVID. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to call. I'm going to see if I can get in for I was supposed to go 2 days later. I was like, I just needed to utilize my sitter right now. So I called and they're like, yeah, we can squeeze you in at like 2:00. I was like, awesome, I'll be there. I went in and my blood pressure was high. And with Adeline, like my blood pressure would kind of go high. And so I was like really honestly annoyed. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm fine. Like, I feel a little anxious, but that's because I have all these questions. Like, is Grady going to be able to be there? Like, what's going on? Like, I was anxious about COVID. And they're like, okay, I mean, your blood pressure, it keeps going up. And I was like, okay. So they're like, we're gonna have you hang out here for like an hour. Let's see if it goes down. We'll just try to calm you down. No. They're like, so you actually need to go to the hospital. It's actually gone up since you've been. And I was like, okay, well, I was annoyed again because this is the second time I had to go to the hospital. The first time was because I had fallen on ice. And I was like, I'm fine, you guys. Like, I don't need to be monitored. So I was annoyed that I had to go get monitored because I was like, again, I thought I was totally fine. I had no sickness, no nothing. So they check me in a triage, they do some blood work, and my doctor, he was the on-call doctor that day. He comes in and he goes, so you're not leaving here pregnant. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, your blood pressure is super high and you're basically, I can never get it right. It was either my liver or my kidneys were kind of starting to go into failure.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, okay, great. He's like, so you haven't had any other symptoms? I was like, no. I was like, I feel like a little anxious, but like, he's like, you haven't been sick? No, I'm totally fine. And he comes back in, he goes, so we're going to deliver this baby. I was like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, we need to get this baby out of you. You have developed HELLP syndrome. And the only way to save you is deliver this baby because the baby had become toxic to you. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So this was 5:00 and I had to call my lawyer. I had to call the agency to let them know. The dads were on their way from China. They were being quarantined in Cambodia to get into the States. So I had to let everybody know. And within, I guess, probably 45 minutes, I was delivering this baby. It was a very calm, hectic, if that makes any sense.
Completely identify with that. Yes.
Things were like, okay, this needs to happen now. I told my doctor, I was like, please do not, like my platelets had gone so low. I probably should have been put under, but I was like, please do not put me under. I had this strong feeling that if I got put under, I was not going to wake up. Right. It was so weird. And I told him that I was like, please do not put me under. I don't think I'm going to wake up. He goes, then hurry up and let's get this baby out of you. And then from there, it was the most relaxed C-section. They had a C-section with Adeline. And this one was like, it was very just peaceful. It was so odd. You know, me and my doctor, we were kind of joking. I was like, he's like, I'm going to give you a 4mm tummy tuck because he was cutting out my old scar and like things like that. It was very lighthearted, which was really nice to know because it was such a scary moment at that point. So I delivered my little surrogate baby and he was born March 17th and he had to go to the NICU for about a week, but he was totally strong, totally healthy. He just needed a little bit more developing before he could be sent home. Which was great because the TADS got in as he was getting out of the hospital. So that all worked out, honestly, so perfectly.
Some divine timing in all of that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I want to talk just a moment about that feeling as I have gone through that feeling where you feel fine. Everything is kind of chaotic around you. And you're like, no, really, I'm good, y'all. It's okay. I've had that same conversation as, you know, our son was born very premature as well. And there's this odd disconnect, at least that happened for me, of I feel fine to being told your life is seriously in danger at this moment. Did you process that in that moment? I know I didn't. But did you? Okay.
No, not at all, because it happened so quick because I went from this like glamorous photo shoot to delivering this baby. And I was like, wait, I'm fine though. Like I literally just did all of this. I don't know why you guys think that I'm like going to die. Like I'm fine. And so nothing processed. And it took me honestly a bit for things to like process. And I remember going into my doctor's appointment like a few days later and he goes, I hope you don't think you're doing this again. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, okay, I had a complication, but I was fine. He goes, no, you really could have almost died.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. And it kind of like hit me like, okay, that was actually a little bit more serious than I thought. I think I just hadn't processed and realized all the things that could have happened and that were close to happening.
Again, I think a bit of an emotional safety net, right? That disassociation that happens and then it kind of hits you later, like you're talking about, and you think, whoa, hold on. I need to process this now. And how long did it take you to kind of move through those emotions? And what did that look like?
Gosh, it really I think it just sat with me. And after that, I guess I never totally sat with it and was like, okay, I really did almost die. I think it's just become a part of well, I'm alive now. I'm I'm grateful for that. But knowing I can't get pregnant again because all this could definitely happen. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's just become a part of me, So I don't know if I've actually how long it's taken me. I just, 2020 was a whirlwind from that day on. So I think, and we had a lot happen. So I think I've just kind of sat with it over time and, come to terms with that and realize oh yeah, I really could. There's times where it just sparks yeah, I guess that would be a near-death experience right there.
Yeah, definitely.
And it seems so casual, which I don't know why.
I think it's if we knew at that moment how serious things were, then we would have spun out of sort of emotional control to making that moment worse, right? And putting ourselves in danger.
And I think that could have made it way I think being calm was what honestly helped save it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have this beautiful baby boy who heads off to the NICU.
Yes.
What happens then? Are your sort of responsibilities done? Are you allowed to go in and sort of care? What happens?
So that was also crazy. So I got checked out of the hospital. Because of COVID, they checked me out so quick. I was, with all my complications, I had to be on magnesium for, I think it was 12 hours, maybe 24. Again, that was all a blur. I had to be in the hospital a full day after and then went home the next day.
Whoa.
And in my mind, it was wild. They were like, we've never seen anybody get checked out of a a hospital for a C-section with complications this quick.
Right.
They did have me get a blood pressure monitor. I had to be on blood pressure medication just to like make sure. And then I was going in to my regular doctor just to, check and make sure I was still good. But yeah, since I had no complications after delivering, it was good to go. But in my mind, you can still go back to the NICU. So I was like, all right, well, I'll be back and I'll be able to, like, my plan was to go in every single day, do skin to skin with him, pump and give him all of the milk that I could give. No. So that got shut down. So the next day I called and I was like, I wanted to go visit him. And they're like, so we are kind of advising not to do that. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, the dads want me to do this. They're like, yeah, because of COVID and he's at risk and we don't know, like, you've already left. We don't know your contact. We kind of are saying no. I was like, okay. And they had wonderful nurses. They were like, we have people they are caring for him. But I was like, okay, well, I guess, I mean, like, I was just like, I have to just abide by the rules and, this is what COVID's doing.
Wow.
So yeah, I pumped and my mom and Grady would drive me to the hospital and deliver milk, which was so helpful for him. So I was pumping as much as I could and I was bringing him milk every single day. And I felt like that was the least that I could do at that moment. I was like, okay, you know what? This is what I can do. I would call the NICU. I would call the nurse for him, and she would go meet me outside and we would hand off the milk. Wow. And yeah, so I actually did not get to see him until they were getting ready to leave because they were stuck in the States. They didn't get to leave until June. That's when I got to see him again.
Wow.
And I had no idea that when I was leaving that hospital, I was not going to be able to see him until then. So that was crazy. And but I also feel like that helped me not have that connection.
Right.
In a way. At least that's what I keep telling myself. Like, but I do feel like that it helped just kind of break that tie of like, all right, my job is technically done. Now it's their turn. And I would get pictures. The nurses would send me pictures. And then when they had them, they sent me pictures almost daily. So I had a lot of like, I got to see him a lot, even though I couldn't physically see him.
Talk about how that made you feel. You just said, yes, I think that helped me sort of move through this, but there had to have been another piece of that where you felt like, wow, I kind of just got robbed of this experience.
Yeah. The moment that I was like hoping for and like wanted from day one, I wanted to be able to I knew I was going to have a C-section. That was already like a thing from day one, but I wanted to be able to witness them holding their baby for the first time. Mm. And that was probably one of the hardest things that I like had to realize that I was not going to get and I didn't get. I really wanted to just have that moment where we all like, I got to see them and they were like, I was picturing them tears of joy and excitement right. And us kind of being in the hospital room and kind of have that intimate moment.
Right.
And I didn't get that. It really stung for a while. But then also at the end of the day, like he was born, he was happy, he was healthy. I had to just realize like, okay, that was a moment that I wanted, but it was not a moment that was needed. He was, at the end of the day, what matters most is that he was happy, he was healthy, and the parents were there,
right.
I didn't need to be there. Yeah, that part definitely did sting, but I have moved past and I'm bummed that I can't do surrogacy again to be able to have that moment. That's okay. It's a selfish moment, kind of, in a way.
As I have always told you, because again, you are my friend, I stand in awe of you for doing this, but also just having so much emotional awareness to know I'm strong enough to do this. And then really having a moment that is so frightening, then to moving through that I don't get to have this sort of perfect bow wrapped up ending that I thought I was going to get and be okay with it. I think a lot of people would not be in that place that says, you know, in the end, that was really about me and not about what really needed to happen.
Yeah. I guess that's maybe like just my personality is just being able to like look at like, or maybe that's also something that I've gained through 2020 is just trying to like look at the bright side of like, okay, this one terrible thing might have happened, but you know, at the end of the day, this is what truly matters the most. So I have to be okay with that. Mm-hmm. And I can't change the past. So I just have to move forward. And it's not doing anybody any good to be upset about it, you know?
Right. So what was it like when you finally did get to meet this couple that you chose and they chose you and they're holding this perfect gift that you've given them?
It was so cool. It was so sweet. He was the biggest chunk ever when we got it. He was so cute. And what was so funny is he didn't cry at all when I was holding him. Like he was just so calm. He was calm when Grady had him. He was calm when Adeline even was like kind of holding him best that she could. And it was really cool. It felt honestly though, like I was holding my nephew, even though I grew him.
Right.
But yeah, it was so funny. They even mentioned, they're like, he's just so calm with you. I feel like he almost had that connection.
Sure.
I mean, he did. He knew my movements. He knew my voice.
Right.
So even when I would be standing and just kind of like swaying with him, because I feel like mimicked when I was behind the chair all the time, just the swaying motions. And it was wonderful. And they were so sweet, even though there was definitely like a little language barrier. Only one of them speaks English. We still were able to really connect.
Right.
It was really cool.
And you have the gift of still being connected, right?
Yeah. We don't chat as much, but we definitely check in. I have this thing where each year on his birthday, I send him an American book. So I feel like this is going to be like a tradition that I send. So I'm in the process of trying to find the perfect book for his second birthday coming up. But yeah, we chat, like I said, about like once a month, just very kind of superficial which is totally okay. They have their life and I have mine, but we'll always have this connection together. And someday I also want to keep that door open because someday if he's curious about pregnancy or us, I want to be able to talk with him.
Right.
And so, yeah, the door is always going to be open to, you know, even if it's just once a month check-ins or if we visit them someday or they come back here, we'll definitely be in contact.
How has this changed your mindset? I think that it would have to walk through this journey, especially in a time that is so unprecedented in our world, across the world, especially where their family is, you know. How have you really seen a shift within yourself?
Gosh, I've just been really grateful for the things that I can control and also just I feel like my life has totally changed since that day. Like I said, I guess being grateful for the things that we have at the end of the day and cherishing every moment that you have. Yeah. Gosh, I guess grateful. Yeah. I guess that.
You know, that reminds me of one of my favorite quotes. And it is that joy is what happens to us when we allow ourselves to recognize how good things really are.
Yeah.
And that's really what you're talking about is that gratitude and joy to witness.
Absolutely.
And so your healing, did it go as planned? Everything was fine and you were able to kind of, I'm sure, probably also adjust to the fact that there will be no more babies.
Yes. Yeah. So basically from that day, physically, I healed wonderfully. Mentally, I healed wonderfully. But from that day, we had a couple crazy things happen personally that also we had to, as our family, we had to grow and heal from. It was I mentioned that my mother-in-law was visiting from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so she went home a few days after I had delivered because she had extended her trip to help care for Adeline. And then about 4 weeks after I delivered, she had passed away.
Right.
From then, I had more emotional healing, not just from my surrogacy and COVID and all of that. But then I also had to deal with the grief for my mother-in-law. Yeah, it was a wild time. I had to make sure that I was okay to fly because I think they say they want you to be more at like 6 weeks.
Right.
And we flew at 5 weeks, but I was totally fine. I healed beautifully. There's nothing. I think that's also why it feels like such a blur is because of all the crazy things that 2020 had brought, not just to everybody else, but then also the things that we had to deal with. So yeah, we also, with grief, we started to grow in our faith. And because we had never gone to church, we had never done any of that. And we started growing and going to church and exploring that option for us, which also, it helped me and it helped my family. And I was able to see all of the good being faithful in God had brought in us. So, and it gave us some peace for things.
Right. As you are grieving and moving through what has occurred and the world is changing, life is shutting down, your industry comes to a complete halt. I mean, so much had occurred. Yes. Can you look at it now and think, maybe that's just what I needed at the moment? Or
100%.
Yeah.
That was, in a way, it was all so perfect timing. Like, I truly believe that I was supposed to deliver at 36 weeks because, God knew that my mother-in-law was going to pass away and I couldn't be pregnant. The world was going to shut down and have that time. And I'm so grateful that it did. And then, so in Oregon, we shut down for about 8 weeks, the salons. And that was such perfect timing. About 6 weeks, I was getting very antsy to get back. But I'm very grateful for that time. Even though it was hard, I was glad that I was able to focus on everything else other than work. Right. Yeah. And I think that actually was very healing.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. We always get what we need when we need it, even if we don't think that that is what we need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. At the time, you're like, okay, but now we have this and the world's shutting down and oh my gosh, but now I can sit back and I can be like, I'm very thankful for all of that.
Right.
Like, I needed all of that.
It's interesting that in those moments that we think are going to be really great or really easy, that I don't want to say turn on us because I don't think that's the case, but really they expose what we need. And it's in those moments that our resiliency is, created, our intention is created, our engagement with ourselves, our emotional intelligence, all of these beautiful pieces that really do grow us and move us forward.
Absolutely.
It's so interesting.
It is. Yeah. It's so nice. And I can just look back and just be like, I'm so thankful for the timing of things. Even if you're like, really? Like, and this and then this? I'm very thankful.
What would you say to someone who maybe is listening that has thought about this, that, says, wow, I would like to bless somebody else with a gift like that, or, they are kind of on the fence? What would you say to them?
I would honestly say do it. It was one of the coolest and most rewarding experiences I've ever, been a part of and was able to give. Just do it. You never know if, like I said, there are so many things that different agencies want from you, different restrictions. Just try. If you feel like you want to do it, try, because it would be amazing if you're able to do it. There is such a need for surrogate because not everybody can do it. So if you feel interested, explore that and see what happens. See if you can do it. And say you don't want to have a connection with the family after. You can put that out there, and some families don't want a connection with the surrogate after. Sometimes they just want the baby, and then they want to end that. And some want a bigger connection. They want you to be a part of the family. They want to like live close to you. They want to have, they want you to be a part of their family. So there's definitely a family out there for everybody.
Right.
So explore those options. It's so wonderful.
I know you and I have talked about the fact that there were lots of Facebook groups and meeting places and stuff like that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was able to meet some wonderful friends in Central Oregon because of surrogacy. And it's really cool to be able to explore and hear their stories and have that connection, because really it's hard to relate to people who haven't done it. So it's nice to be able to talk about it. And I've actually been able to encourage 2 people since then who have actually started their journey as surrogate just by me sharing my story, which has been so awesome. Like I said, I have a couple really good friends because of it, and now I'm able to encourage. So one of them is my sister-in-law. So she's doing surrogacy now, and then one was a client of mine. So now I'm able to kind of also connect with them and share my stories. And they're like, did you do this? How was this for you? And we can kind of connect there. So it's a really great community of my, like, I guess, surrogacy sisters I get to be a part of. So.
I love that. Just think that you're an amazing human anyway, but just to know that this was on your heart and you just didn't say, oh, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I'm going to leave that alone. But that you took the steps to not only research it, but to take every action to follow through this urge. And I always say, whether I'm working with somebody individually or I'm talking on Instagram or the podcast, it's those urges, it's those pieces of us that keep coming up that we just can't let go of. That is a part of our purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Now that I've experienced, I remember when I was younger, when I first got into the industry as a hairstylist, my parents were very much against it at first. And I was like, I don't care. I'm supposed to go to beauty school. I'm supposed to be a hairstylist. So I took all the necessary steps. And at the end of the day, I told them, I'm going to beauty school. I'm going to be a hairstylist. And now I feel the same way about surrogacy. It's like I took all the steps and I then told people this is what I'm doing. And yeah, I've been able to recognize and kind of follow through, that's my purpose. I'm supposed to look into this and pursue it. And, I don't know if the word advocate, but just tell people and educate. And it's cool.
You're a beautiful soul, my friend. I'm lucky to know you. If there was anything that you could leave women, what would you say to them?
Let's see. Gosh, I would say, well, first and foremost, just do things that bring you joy. That's something that has been on my heart lately. And I've been, in this world that we're in, I've been trying to, if something isn't bringing me joy, I either get rid of it completely out of my life or create a boundary on that. I guess my other thing would be also to set boundaries.
Yes. Please, everyone, please.
Everybody set boundaries. I have been practicing this, and it's amazing when I can see a boundary kind of working. And I guess in a way I was doing it even before I was even aware. When I look back at my surrogacy, I had set that emotional boundary so that I wouldn't get attached and I could focus on the job at hand. And now I can see, oh, that was so wonderful. And then for me, it's trusting God or just trust your instinct if you are not a believer. The world, if something's on your heart, there's a reason why it's on your heart. So pursue that, figure out. For me, years ago, it was becoming a hairstylist. Then it was the surrogacy. And now I can kind of see after that, it was pursuing my faith. And now we've pursued our faith, and that has been so beautiful for our family. So yeah, just listen to yourself. Those have been my biggest things, has definitely changed my mindset and made me a stronger and happier person, better wife, better mom, better hairstylist, better friend.
Beautiful. Perfect.
Thank you.
Beautiful and perfect. So I know you've listened to the podcast, so we always end with three things that you're grateful for. Just a bit of inspiration for our women. So I will leave you with your choice of three things.
So three things that I would say that, first and foremost, I'm so grateful for my family being happy and healthy. That's number one. Because I knew you were going to ask me this. I wrote three things down that I've learned. And that is to basically trust God, set boundaries, and at the end of the day, choose joy.
I love it. I love it. And it's evident in your life and the way that you show up. Again, being able to witness that. So it is not only the way that you are moving your mindset, but it is the way that you're showing up. And so the rest of us get to benefit from those beautiful three things. So.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, I thank you for doing that. I am so grateful for you taking the time to share your story, to really help others understand what this journey looks like, because so many of us don't understand what this looks like.
Absolutely.
And the gift that you can give.
Thank you. To me, it just felt very natural, but I know that at the end of the day, it really is a gift. And I was able to bring life into this world, and now I can help educate people about surrogacy since I can't do it myself again.
Right.
So
it definitely is divine for you to have been in the right place at the right time, to have it brought to you, for you to follow the purpose, and for you to now be the witness to what you can create. Kelsey is an inspiration, a true warrior in a way that reminds each of us not to push aside what comes to us and won't leave our thought process. Because of Kelsey, a family is now complete. And of course, it's an honor to be her friend. If you are interested in serving couples who now have fewer options, I encourage you to do research, reach out to your local community, and never reject any idea that you've been called to do. You may just make a massive impact on someone else. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Get Your Life Together Girl podcast. Please be sure to tune in each Tuesday and Thursday when new episodes are released. If you're looking for daily inspiration, join the growing community at Get Your Life Together Girl on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And please visit getyourlifetogethergirl.com for additional videos, blogs, and upcoming events. Thank you for listening and being a valuable part of this community. Please don't forget to leave a review, as it helps us serve others who may need it. Until next time, be kind to yourself and others.